Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the News Behind the News with Ralph Cantava on Mix 94.7 FM. I hope that you had a good day so far. This afternoon is going to be a pretty interesting conversation. It's interesting because I have here in front of me an old friend. In some programs past, I've invited some persons that I went to school with. But I could really say I went to school with this young lady. I think third grade in Miss Cheverton in Max School is when, we first met each other, and we literally were in the same class up until Fifth Form Academy.
Yeah.
So, glad to have you home. Oh, well, glad to have you here, and glad that you're home, doing what you're doing. Because for one, I like to always look out for persons who are doing great things. Persons, for one, everyone has a story. That's why I love talking to a variation of people, even if with a title, without a title, doesn't matter. But in particular, one key thing about the program is I really like to highlight young professionals on the island and students as well. And so with that, Kamika, good afternoon again, and thank you for coming on the program.
Yes. Hi, good afternoon, Ralph, and everyone listening. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. See you at work.
Great. So while I know you for sure, there's a whole lot of folks out there who don't know you. So tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, yes. So my name is Kamika Harley. I am pretty young, in my 20s. I'm a student currently at the Hague University of Applied Sciences in the Netherlands. I was born and raised in St. Martin, but I moved to the Netherlands in 2015 for school. I'm currently enrolled in the International and European Law program, where my major is International Humanitarian Law and International Criminal Law. And I'm currently here on internship back home in the sun. Thank you. For Brooks and Associates. It's been 5 months now.
Okay, so yeah, for some time.
For some time, yes.
Okay, great. So you said, I definitely, of course, would like to explore your education experience in the Netherlands. But before that, I'm actually curious on your take on, your education experience here in St. Martin and also being prepared to go ahead to the Netherlands. What was that like for you?
Okay,
that was a deep sigh, so that says a lot already, but go ahead.
I mean, let me start off by saying one of the more common comments that I got since I moved to the Netherlands whenever I show my passport anywhere is, you have a Dutch passport, but you don't speak Dutch? Like, how did you get this passport? And with wanting to become a lawyer and wanting to work on St. Martin, I definitely do have to gain something that's called civil effect. And in order for me to get that, I have to study Dutch law. But in high school, I believe you're well familiar that the only Dutch we got was very basic.
Yeah.
Very, very basic. And it's definitely, high school was very informative. It prepared me for a lot of things in life, but one of the things that it didn't prepare me for is this move that I want to make in my career to be a lawyer. It definitely did not prepare me for that because I need to know Dutch, and now I do not know any Dutch. It's always a topic among my peers in class when I tell them like the story, and then they're like, okay, so you speak Dutch in the courts, but the people don't speak Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
You get Dutch when you get something from government or something very important that you need to understand, and it's in Dutch, and the people don't speak Dutch. What is that barrier doing there? Like, and it's there for so long. That's always a very popular topic, and honestly, something that we need to change.
Yeah,
because
popular and necessary topic too.
Because a lot of our students here in St. Martin, they move to study. Some of them do go to the U.S., but a lot of them also go to the Netherlands.
That's true.
And with the cultural difference already, the language barrier it just makes it even more difficult to go to the market, the grocery store, even if your study is in English, to communicate with people, to get your taxes in order and all of those things that are very common in Holland. Dutch is going to make it so much easier. And yeah, I don't know how we're going to move about the change there, but one definitely needs to happen.
I'm curious then, would you say that then while in high school, you had an inkling of what you wanted to study or possible career fields? Do you think that we were adequately prepared to really think about careers, you know?
Well, I remember at one point in high school, we visited the courthouse, and that was actually one of my very core memories that are like, I really love it because I remember...
the job visits.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I remember in academy.
I remember we got to speak to one of the lawyers, and I think we understood at that point that they were speaking in Dutch there, and that's a common thing that they do. But to be honest, I never processed it like, let me start learning some Dutch then.
I gotcha. Yeah.
But I always knew that I wanted to be a lawyer, and you could say it's kind of my fault, but then I was never really given the tools as a child, you know. I wasn't equipped, you know, like there was no one that was like, okay, well, after the career there, we noticed that they speak Dutch. Any of the students who want to become lawyers, heads up, you're going to need to learn Dutch. You know, let's implement some type of program in the school so that you can have an after-school Dutch course, you know. Yeah, there was nothing like that. So I can't really blame them so much because it's just how it was.
Yeah. And you know, honestly, this is a discussion I've had frequently on the program, you know, since I started. But I don't mind because I think certain things need to be repeated that until it comes to a level where it's like, okay, let's take some action.
Yeah.
Because listening to, you know, what you said, you know, the essential factor is that there is a very hard divide, you know, with the system and the people, because, you know, it is in a sense undemocratic, because a system is functioning with other people being able to understand how it can impact their lives. For example, even let's say in considering a draft law, it's drafted in Dutch.
Yep.
But guess what? Not frankly, but reality, a majority of members of parliament don't read or speak Dutch, and then they are passing laws in a system that is Dutch. You know what I mean? And that's what makes it all the more funny. But then the issue stems from then. This is an age-old issue where you notice then another divide as far as the class social structure, where jobs, the best of jobs, let's say, are provided to those, you know, who have that advantage, and it doesn't mean that you're more competent, whatever. It's just that you have a strong command of the language. But then if your own people don't have that command, and someone from one of the neighboring Dutch islands, or maybe a place like Suriname or the Netherlands itself, they already have that strong core understanding of the language, you are further, you know, just pushed away. It's like, yeah, I mean, yes, the country and everything, but you don't have much say. Yep. You know, if you know what I'm saying.
For instance, the fact that most of our judges are Dutch, majority. All of our judges are from the Netherlands. Yeah. From the Netherlands. And I believe you had an interview with one of the lawyers on the island already, and she spoke intensely on this. And
yes, she's a criminal lawyer.
Yes. And I absolutely agreed with everything that she was saying, because there is then going to be a barrier between the people and the law that is supposed to protect and give justice and all of those things when they're trying to voice their opinion or tell their side of the story or something, and then the lawyer is sitting there and they don't understand these terms that are being used, or they feel because
the nuances.
Because one of the things that were very surprising for me when I moved to the Netherlands my first year was that even when I was speaking English to someone who did understand English, I had to slow it down, and I had to you know, because they didn't understand my dialect, like they didn't understand my accent. And it was as if I was speaking a completely different language to them.
And for us, our accent is not like
it's not major. It's not like I'm speaking like, you know, a patois, Jamaican patois or anything. So it was very shocking for me, and it was like, I'm speaking English. You said you understand English, right? And I believe that that is something that is very possible to happen a lot in the courtrooms because, yeah, the fact is they are from the Netherlands and they're those same people. And when you have young guys and stuff in criminal cases trying to voice their opinion, trying to explain their story, there is going to be that little barrier where can you repeat that? Yeah. Can you? What do you mean by that?
Essence is lost in translation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was present for a recent criminal case, and I kind of did see it happen. I saw, she wasn't lying. This is really something that we have to pay attention to, and we have to do something about. Mm-hmm. But that's just the way it is.
Yeah, like the Tupac song, right? But on the flip side as well, though, I'm curious, for example, on your personal experience in then starting to learn the language, getting acclimated, and in Netherlands as well, because the reality is, okay, yes, Simon has this relationship with the Netherlands, but it's still a foreign territory, if you get what I mean, right?
Yeah.
And naturally, as Simon is a clear example, when you're in a foreign land, you just have, you have to learn the language, but in all cases, you really do, because, you're trying to, what to say? Yeah, you're just trying to ensure that you can function in the society. That's a key thing. So, how was that for you?
Well,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I was going to make a point, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I have to be honest. In the beginning, I was very, optimistic. Like, I wasn't optimistic at all about it. I was like, I'm just here to study, and then I'll go back. I'm just here to get this degree, and then that's it. It was cold. It was depressing. I mean, I think I should stress on that point for any students who want to move to the Netherlands. Prepare yourself for it. It's not an easy move. It's very difficult lifestyle up there, and a lot of students don't make it in their studies. They don't further it. They don't make it mentally. So it's definitely not an easy thing to just say, okay, pack my bags, finish school, go to the Netherlands. So prepare yourself. And I wasn't one who was like eager to learn Dutch like my cousin who recently moved, and she was just, boom, enrolled in the Dutch program. She's learning Dutch. It took me a while. And when I did enroll in a Dutch program, I realized it was something I should have done way earlier because, first of all, it's very cheap. If you hold a Dutch passport, it's very cheap for you to get in the classes, and it's really, really good and really helpful. I felt like I was really learning Dutch, able to have big conversations, and with the basic Dutch that we did learn in school, it kind of helped a little because it was like I was saying words in Dutch, and I was like, I didn't realize I knew that this whole time. Like, I didn't realize I knew how to say that, how to write these letters in Dutch and all of these things. But, yes, what was the question again?
It's okay. Basically, my question was, how have you applied yourself and also, learned the language?
Yeah,
to function in the society.
So yeah. I still haven't fully learned the language. Still am struggling to learn the language, and the older that I get, the more difficult it becomes to keep that information in there.
Well, they do say the best time to teach a child or teach a person a language in the childhood. As the younger you are, the more languages you can actually learn.
So as I get older, it definitely does become more difficult, and well, it's not easy handling your bills and handling your personal matters and stuff in English, where in a country that they speak Dutch. It's you could edit it and take a break.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, I got you. So on that note, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the News Behind the News with Ralph Contav on Mix 94.7 FM. And I'm joined with Miss Kamika Harley, a budding lawyer, from St. Martin. One of the things I'm definitely curious about, before I ask my question, one of the things I must say is that, we have a good amount of local lawyers in St. Martin, which is great. But we definitely need more. I realize in as small as St. Martin is, there's a lot of law firms and stuff. But I recognize that there are so many issues and so many people who are seeking some sort of restorative justice and whatnot in different fields, business, family, land, etc., civil matters, and all of that. That there is quite a workload available here, although I can imagine matters of compensation may not be the same, if it's to be elsewhere. But my question is, in terms of, so you said you're studying international
and European law.
International and European law. So in terms of the courses that you've done, the workload, your education trajectory so far, what has stood out to you? And
some of the fields that have stood out to me during the program are family law and corporate law. Those are fields that I'm not really interested in going into, but just the things surrounding it during the within the different jurisdictions, how they contrast and stuff, because they don't only give us, it's an international law program, so we get with civil law and common law, and we learn about the differences and stuff. It's very surprising in family law, which is a very, touchy law, because you have children and all of these family life and all of these things, who can get married and all of these stuff. So those were some of the fields that stood out to me, but the program has so much more fields as well. Administrative law, which now I'm using in my internship a lot, which I must say was not my favorite subject, but now seeing how it's applied and being able to hear different stories behind the, technical stuff is very interesting, and it's very it's something that stands out to me now as well. But yeah, the program is very, very informed. It touches on a lot of different laws. You have tort law, criminal law, of course, the European law. You have the United Nations. You learn about all of these different things in the program. The only downside of the program for people who want to come to St. Martin to be lawyers would be that it's in English. Other than that, it's a great program. You can move to a lot of different areas of law with this program. And
you see yourself going further in terms of a master's?
Yes, I do.
And I'm sorry. And also, what is it like? The work behind, behind the curtains, let's say, in terms of the reading and all of that, if you could detail that as well.
Yes. So I have a cousin who's a lawyer in the UK. And one of the things she's always said is that law is language, and a lot of people say that as well. You definitely do have to read a lot during the exams. You're allowed to bring certain textbooks because it's so much reading that you're not going to remember every law out there. You're going to need something there to go through and help you. But I'm one of those students who I love to read, I love to read, but I definitely don't do it as much as the next one. I would read the stuff that interests me the most, like, stuff about politics and what went wrong there and what's going on in this country in terms of armed conflicts and stuff like that. But when it comes to what's happening in the European Union and stuff, I'm not really the one to go and do all of the readings there, even though I did pretty well in those courses. But I believe that law is still language, but not in terms like you're going to be just piled up with a lot of readings. I think you're going to be piled up with thinking about a lot of different ways for you to phrase what you want to say in courses. Because, for instance, if you're talking about an exam, you might be saying the right thing, but just in the wrong way. You just might not be saying it the way that they expected you to say it, and still fail an exam that you think you did pretty good on, because it's about how you say what you say. If you said it exactly like they cited it in something, or the literally the words that I literally had a moment with this where I was saying exactly what it was. I just used one different word, and that was still something that was not good enough for the lecturer. She was like, no, this word is not what was there. You had to say it exactly how it was. So law is language in that sense, and in the sense of technicality, you have to do something or you may do something, like that. I don't know if you understand what I want to say, but
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I get a gist of it. Yeah. I do.
Yeah. So for anyone who wants to be a lawyer, but you probably don't like to read so much, maybe you could still do it. Maybe. Maybe don't let that, turn you off. Maybe don't think, oh gosh, law school, that might be the most difficult thing. It's not easy, but you could probably still do it if you apply yourself and if you just give it a chance and you just open your mind to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not the most difficult thing in the world.
Gotcha. Okay, so even as you shared that you're doing your internship here, particularly in a field that you wasn't too much in favor of, but you're learning. That's how life is, though. Mm-hmm. I'm curious. First off, what was it like getting an internship? Because I do know that is often a struggle for so many students, and every time you sigh, I'm like, okay, you gave me the answer already, but go ahead.
Yes, that was also very difficult, getting an internship. Even here on St. Martin, I applied to quite a couple law firms and didn't get back from them. The first interview that I got for my internship search was with Brooks and Associates. And I always told myself, while doing the search, it got tiring. It got very times where I doubted myself. Mm-hmm. And I kept saying, if I would just get a chance to just speak to someone, if they would just not look at my CV, but just hear me speak and just hear my passion, mm-hmm. I would get it. I know I would get it. So, that was my first interview, and I did get the job. And I started into the actual internship very doubtful, because I must say, just the search of, I was looking for an internship for about a year. Wow. Yes, consistently searching, applying. I was looking in the Netherlands as well, and that was around Corona time, so a lot... Yeah, a lot of places weren't giving out internships anymore. And a lot of the internships that I probably would have loved to do, you needed Dutch or you needed a different language, French, German. So there was a lot of different reasons why it was a limited search, but it was also still very difficult to get into the field that I'm doing, international humanitarian law. To get into those fields, everyone tells you that's lobbying. You have to know someone in there for you to get in. And that's probably why the world is the way that it is. But who am I to say that? It was, I was very doubtful in the beginning of my internship. And it took me, first of all, let me say that Mrs. Brooks is very... she's the kind of person that wants to help the young people who want to be a lawyer. So she never no, she's not getting it. It was never like that, because doing my internship portfolio, I look back at the work that I started to do, and the work that I was doing in the beginning compared to the work that I'm doing now is very different, very much an improvement. And I'm like, wow, she actually still kept me even though I was doing this work. Yeah. But no, she helps guide me, as well as my supervisor, Mr. Ashton Richardson. And that doubt easily went away. And I soon realized this is something that I can do. the reason I wasn't getting an internship wasn't because they were looking at my CV and going, "Oh no, this won't be a lawyer." And yeah, I think a lot of
bolstered your
people.
confidence.
I think a lot of people who are looking for, I know a lot of my peers that are still looking for internship, and that's holding them back from graduating because it's a mandatory course. You have to do the internship to graduate. So yeah, if any of you are listening, just know you hang in there, and when your chance come, you will know exactly, okay, I had to wait this long because this one was just the one for me. But yeah, I think maybe internships in other fields, I have peers in other fields that do internships, and maybe it's not so difficult for them to come back to St. Martin to get that internship. But with the law, it was difficult to get, like, no response. Just no response.
Yeah. No, I mean, but I've had that throughout, whether it's law, even hospitality, which you would think, so it is unfortunate. But hey, at least you were able to get through. But even with that, I'm curious. Then do you envision yourself returning home? And even if not, what are your thoughts and ways that St. Martin can improve for young professionals who want to come back home and make a difference or just establish their careers?
I see myself maybe coming back home after a couple more years. Definitely want to get started in the Netherlands, no matter how difficult that might be. I think that's where I would like to get started in my career. And one of the things that I think St. Martin can definitely do for young professionals who want to come back home is not forget about them. They're not here anymore. They went away to study, yes, but they went away to study to make something of their island, most of them, because they need this to be able to do that. But there's not as much support for the students who move to the Netherlands from St. Martin as those from Curacao and Aruba would get. Like, it's not that much support. There are organizations that are like trying to make that, okay, you're away from home, but we're still here for you, but not so much. And I believe that's a systematic problem, because St. Martin is like, when you're big, then we see you. Right now, you're in school, it's hard for you. Okay, we don't see you. You get over it. Now you're big. Come back home. Yeah. Let's recognize you for all the work that you. Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, and that's a systematic problem, and that's why a lot of students move to the Netherlands and they don't make it in their studies. That's not the main reason, but I think that's definitely one of those reasons. If there was some sort of a community, a strong community in the Netherlands, or students that are from St. Martin, even combined with those from Aruba and Curacao, it would be a lot more success rate of those students returning back home to make a difference at home. Because after I've struggled and have gone through war on my own, I'm not really so interested to come back home and make a difference. I still am, but it's less of an interest now, and thankfully, I got an internship on the island, because if I didn't, I probably wouldn't even be thinking to come back home. I really probably wouldn't be thinking about it, honestly, because, like I said, and I'm going to say it again, no response from the law firms on the island. So why would I think, let me come back here to work?
Yeah.
Why would I think that? Thankfully, I got the internship at Brooks & Associates, so I know others may not be so fortunate. They might not apply there, or for whatever reason, they might not be so fortunate. And maybe if things keep going like that, we'll still have Dutch judges. There'll still be no change, and there'll still be that barrier. And then there'll still be laws that are being drafted that are in Dutch and don't really make so much sense when you translate it. Don't make sense in Dutch either sometimes. I have seen it. So, yeah, that's one of the things that we can do as an island. We can just the government or anyone can just be more involved in the lives of students who move away from home for study.
Gotcha. Okay, I appreciate that response.
Yeah.
So just a few more questions for you. One of them being being back 5 months and yeah, so having been back for 5 months and stuff, what has stood out to you throughout that period?
A lot. I think the main thing that's stood out to me, I think a lot of people have told me about it, that right now on the island there's this like the matters with immigration on the island. Yeah, I know like a lot of my close friends who I actually didn't have their documents in order, have voiced their opinions to me about that. Like, there's a lot of stress going on with people who are on residence permits. And I think that's one of the main things that has stood out to me, the way our immigration laws are set up, are designed, the way that also with doing research in the laws, the way that they're outdated. The Civil Code of St. Martin is very outdated. They still criminalize abortion in the Civil Code. And that was very shocking to me, because when we had that big conversation all over social media with the U.S., I had no idea that my own country was the same. Maybe they don't apply that law in practice anymore, but then it's still a law. It's still there. It's still valid. And that's also something that has struck me. The law for a lot of people on the island doesn't really matter. It doesn't hold so much weight, because even when you have like the European Court making decisions on the situation, the living situation in Point Blanche.
Oh, the prisoner.
Yeah, that was a big win. It's a violation of their human rights. It needs to be fixed. But that doesn't really hold much weight on the island, because then it's still the same. And there's no after the fact, getting this win, there's no like, let's implement it. There's no, and there's not that there's just no let's implement it type of action, but there's also no like liability. There's no like, okay, yeah, if I don't do this very soon, then we're going to be held liable as a country for this or any.
Accountability system is also pretty weak.
And I think during my studies, we learned a lot about naming and shaming. That's a very common practice to get things done. It works. There's not so much naming and shaming here, you know? That's like big. Okay, like other countries would know, oh, wow, look at what they're doing over there. Because when I tell people from in the Netherlands, people that I meet, international students, what's happening, the stuff in home, they're like, what? That's unheard of. They've never heard about like something like that happening.
How can you be comfortable at least?
But
I think too. What would assist in that? Again, kind of goes back to our introductory discussion, is in the people being aware of the laws. You know, being aware of what are your rights, how the system functions, and what you can demand, you know, of the system that is there to work for you and the people as well, who are, who support the system that also work for you. I think those are the factors that are essential.
Yeah, and that's why I really, really like this internship. I keep saying it, and I really like it because Mrs. Brooks is the type of person that that's something that she believes in and fights for as well. The laws are in Dutch. That's one. That's red flag number one. The people speak English. For instance, going back to the immigration situations, when these people get their decisions, they're in Dutch. These people don't speak Dutch. Many of the people who get these decisions, they don't speak Dutch.
And although in the Constitution as well, our official language is also English, you don't even have a choice, at least than the choice. in the two languages that are official to our state, well, hey, I prefer to get my verdict or decision or my letter, whatever, in English.
And
I wonder for how long. Yeah, but the translation cost is costly. How long would that be an excuse?
I have
How valid is
I've
it?
seen that there were situations in the past where people spoke out about it publicly and then received their decision in English, but that's not a common thing. That only happened probably a handful of times. So yeah, I mean, how are we supposed to be for the people if the people don't even understand what we're doing right
Correct.
now? Like, we're just oblivious. What's going on? Okay, yeah, this is happening
said
in
it so well.
politics, but oh, this is bad. But what can happen? What can be done about it? Yeah,
Sure.
these politicians are dirty, but what's happening behind? What's in place to regulate that? We don't know.
Yeah, because then the documents that flow through, let's say, the government system, as far as policies are concerned, oftentimes, policies, you have the opportunity to review policies, give your input and stuff. But if they are moving to and fro in a foreign language, then, how empowered are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reality is that is where colonialism has to be understood. Yeah, I think because of, when people hear conversations on colonialism, I understand it can rile up all sorts of feelings, those who are for, pro, or undecided, whatever, conversations of independence and all of that. But I think it's to, before you even go that far, understand, listen, the system is not working for the people.
No.
You are in a colonial setting.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to chop off any heads, but it means that there are changes to be made. It has to reflect the people.
Yeah. A lot of changes need to be made before you go full off independent. It definitely is. And in St. Martin, that is definitely the case, and definitely the reason why we're still in the position that we are in. One of the reasons, at least. So I agree with you 100% on that one.
Okay, cool. So my final question for you then, as a young local woman, you're abroad and whatnot, experiencing the world, getting your education, what would you say to younger St. Martin students, finally?
What would I say to the younger St. Martin students? Let me tell you something.
And parents, because we have a lot of parents who listen to this that could, help their kids too. Yeah.
Yes, parents and students. Your voice matters so much. Studying law, the law matters, yes, but not as much as your voice. As a people, your voice is so much more powerful. You can cause changes. You can make differences in places that you think are not so well. Like, for instance, in Holland, Thuisbezorgd is one of my favorite friends. I use Thuisbezorgd a lot. It's the delivery place, like a delivery site. So you order and you get your food from wherever restaurant you wish to your house. That was a hard separation to me, coming back home, that I couldn't order and have stuff delivered to me. And that's not a very difficult thing to a business to start up. If you see like little areas like this even that are lacking on the island, which we have a lot of areas that are lacking on the island, you are more than capable of making a difference and making a change there. No matter how small it is, no matter how insignificant you think it might be, you can start change literally anywhere. If you want to be an influencer, because a lot of young people want to be influencers these days, you can implement change with that. Even just know that you're strong and know that your voice matters, and know that if I apply myself, I can change the world with my peers, because we can't change it by ourselves.
Very true. Very true.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, Kamika, I would like to thank you so much for this conversation. It was very enlightening, very engaging. Yeah, it's very, and I appreciate it. I wish you much success as well.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and thank you guys for listening and watching. It was
Cool.
very nice.
All right, everyone, do take care until our next show tomorrow. Goodbye.